Nier Automata is a recently released hack-and-slash action game from Square Enix. It follows Robo Mikasa and Cyber Armin as they travel about a post-apocalyptic Earth overtaken by the dreaded triple threat of plants, aliens, and robots. They follow the orders of Commandant Kawhi residing in a bunker on the moon, aptly named the Bunker. Traveling in between completing quests for the various beings they encounter through other quests, they learn more about what it's like to be human, even though none of them really are, which complicates the whole retake the Earth for humanity thing, but hey, I dig it. In all seriousness, Nier Automata felt like it came out of nowhere, but I found it, and like the fool I am, got hyped and pre-ordered it. And can you argue with tightly clad hot anime girls running around beating the shit out of robots? Of course you can't. No one can. And I know the whole internet is already buzzing about it, but there's plenty of nice panty shots one can get in the game. Guess the designers know their demographic quite well. Now, when I first ran the game, I was a bit frustrated. It has an issue with certain resolutions, so I ended up making do with a 1920 by 1080 window. It seems to function well enough that way. I hope they'll make a fix for it to accommodate more screen sizes and resolutions later, but that is really something you have to consider in modern gaming to begin with, not as a patch. Now, being the PC master race bitch that I am, keyboard and mouse are my main method of interacting with games. Nier Automata, on the other hand, does not wish for anyone to be partaking of such things. It's easy to see that the controls were made with controllers as the primary focus. While those work rather well, the keyboard and mouse controls aren't even there. It's probably some of the laziest attempts at controls I've ever seen. And not to mention it creates barf cam. If they didn't want us to use it, they could, and probably should, just put a warning on the game before the menu. Speaking of the camera, that's another thing I'm a bit iffy with. Whilst barfy with the mouse, on controller, generally speaking, it's pretty smooth. Sometimes, boss fights and flying stages suffer from this especially. They'll just lock you in a spot and not tell you about it. And then you're trying to attack or fly around or, do anything, and you're just stuck looking in a corner, putting you in an active disadvantage. Don't even get me started on those flying sections, but, whatever. There's plenty to like, if not love, about this game. The combat is by far the most advertised, save for the panty shots, thing about Nier Automata. I gotta admit, they did a pretty good job on it. At first I was unimpressed and downright upset at it, but, that's because the combat system requires some time, not only to get used to it, but to see the complexity for it to grow and gain. Like a good wine or cheese, it's not ready right away. You gotta wait for the good stuff. But then it maintains a smooth and satisfying feel for most of the game. Really only broken by those previously mentioned flying segments, where they're really just trying to throw in a lazily slapped together shoot 'em up. Even when it's shoving you sexy high heels first into stupid mechanical wingsuits, it's a joy to look at. Granted, it's become rather standard to have nice graphics, it still manages to blend together the raw, natural beauty of recovering Earth with the crumbling clutches of both mankind and machine in an oddly satisfying way. That, and it shows great character model detail, which in games like this is always a plus, you know what I'm saying? The soundtrack complements all the visuals pretty nicely, and not to mention solid, but sadly rather sparse, voice acting performances. Nier Automata suffers from what most big games do these days, that being AAA pricing. It feels more like a $30 to a $40 game than $60. Now, compiling the good, the bad, and the ugly all together, whether I mention it or not, we arrive at a solid 12 out of 16 rating for Nier Automata, giving it the rank of good. Whilst it certainly has its flaws, it's still enjoyable and engaging, and I would suggest you guys check it out, but probably only buy it when it goes on sale, unless you're really hankering for that anime ass, which I fully understand. Hope you all enjoyed this review, and I hope you'll subscribe and stick around to see what else might come up around here. Probably more reviews, but who knows?